about the time, guys, preparing this. I made a hash of the first time that I did this, yeah, because my mind wasn't in a settled place. To speak about quantum physics, quantum mechanics and that, you have to be in a kind of settled place. Like your mind has to be, it has to be clear, functioning, so the message can just flow. And I feel like I didn't really do a great job. Last time it was all right. I watched it back, you know, but because it got cut, it didn't get to where it needed to get. So I'm not going to play any music or none of that stuff there. I'll just wait for the rest of for whoever feels the frequency going out right now and tunes in. I'll wait for a couple people to tune in and I'll just kick off. This is called The Illusion of Reality, the Philosopher's Stone, right? Let me put this, I might cut out for a minute because I'm going to put this aeroplane mode on. Right, so we got aeroplane mode on now, so nobody can't ring me and disturb our thing and mash up the video, yeah? I don't know if the crow's around, but quickly while nobody's here, while we're waiting, who he, she, the mother, father, creator, consciousness, who nothing would exist except by way of the mother, father, creator, force represented through the Most High, Anu, the Heavenly One, and Antum, the Heavenly Consort. Okay, yeah, I want to bring it from the angle of philosophy because a lot of people don't. Philosophy gets left out of the discussion nowadays. Back in the days, philosophy was a big game player when it comes to deciphering truth and stuff. So our book 6, Today is Tomorrow's Yesterday, The Persistence of Existence, that is largely a kind of like philosophical manual. It is to do with metaphysics and science and theology and all of that stuff, but it pivots around philosophy. I'm trying to introduce people to the idea of philosophy and what it meant in the ancient world and how it helped some of our ancestors and other people's ancestors get reason out to the truth. So I'm going to include philosophy in the discussion. So this part 2 of The Illusion of Reality is subtitled Theologians, Philosophers and Scientists, or you could just say the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, so give it 1-2 minutes and then I'll start on this. I'll make sure I got everything set, close this door here, and we're going to jump in because I spent about 2 hours on these notes just to make sure that we actually hit on these points that we need to hit, because I feel like I was off the mark on the last live. I'm joining you back in 1 minute. Yes, I'm ready, man. I'm gonna light my spliff. I've already did the prayer. The purpose of this discussion is so that people can start to have an easier time seeing through all the booby traps and subliminal seduction, predictive programming that's keeping us trapped in this 10% of brain power, so that we never kind of escape the boxes that reality have put us in, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, the racism. We need to start really seeing this thing for what it is. So I hope that these, I call them quantum lessons, these quantum lessons will help you to see that they really give us the most basic, fundamental education that don't really clue us up about nothing. And if you don't take it into your own hands to continue your education, or even while you're going through school with your children and that, show them the importance of you have to be your own teacher. You can't wait for people to teach you stuff. You have to be first and foremost your own teacher, running off your own initiative. So what I'm trying to do here is encourage us to do that, because I really feel like when I was sitting down this morning, I was supposed to do the live earlier, right? And I thought, you know what, let me sit down and really go through these notes, because I was just going to go through the other half of notes I had on the page from yesterday, which would be maybe from where this is, yeah? But when I sat there doing my own studies to elaborate on certain other things. I thought, now let me expand this a bit more and hit it from a different angle and kind of, so if people watch the last live and they watch this, they'll see that there's it clarifies certain things from the other live. It's not just like a concept I've spoken about and I've not explained it for people who may not have come across that concept before. So in the other live, the first part of the illusion of reality, I said that I was supposed to write down the definition of reality itself. And like I said, my brain was scattered, so I didn't write down the explanation of what reality was. So I did it for you this time. So I've looked into the dictionary, yeah? And the dictionary definition of reality is the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. That's one. So one, the state of things as they naturally exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. Yeah. Two, the state or quality of having existence or substance. So basically, it's the quality of or state of being real. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's also the facts involved in such a state. So if it's the quality of being real, then the facts involved in that quality is what reality is dealing with, yeah? Or if it's a state of being real, they want to know why, what makes it be real. They want to look at the structure, how it works, all of that. That's what they call reality, yeah? In terms of a Western dictionary definition of it. It's the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. Two, the state or quality of having existence or substance. So it's the quality or state of being, yeah? And it's the facts involved in such a state. Now, science is to do with knowing. The word science comes from the word scientia, which means to know, yeah? So science deals with its knowing by way of establishing methods that is written down and recorded to test theories. And when they write down and record these methods, science is a methodology so that you could come along and use what I wrote down and repeat the same experiment or repeat the same test and come and get the same result. That's what science is. It puts down methods, like modern methods, and records and logs certain things so that somebody else can do the exact same thing that I did and see for evidence, okay, this is for real. Do you understand? That's a scientific way of analyzing this realm, of studying existence or reality. Philosophy is a bit different because all philosophy really is a real in-depth inquiry. We're going to sit, we're going to chat like me and you now. We're going to have a build and we're going to come to a conclusion by inquiring with discussion. So we might even debate each other. You might have a different philosophy than I do. So now we're going to have a discussion to the point where one of us cancels out the other. Either my philosophy is going to cancel out yours, or yours is going to cancel out mine, or they may even merge. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the difference between science and philosophy. Science establishes a method that somebody else can come. It's recorded, it's written down method. So somebody else can come and use that method and repeat the same thing that the scientist did. That's science. Philosophy doesn't write down shit about no method or none of that kind of stuff. Philosophy just wants to inquire. We want to discuss or what we black people call God body. We're natural philosophers. Philosophy came from us. So therefore, we'll have an inquiry and a discussion to get to the root or the conclusion of what we think is reality or what we think is the truth. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to introduce philosophy into the discussion. So I've got a lot about philosophy in my book, Today is Tomorrow is Yesterday, which will be book 6 of the In the Light of the Sun series. So I got a piece here for you when I start breaking down philosophy that I want to read for you so you will get what I'm trying to say about how philosophy can help us now, even in this day and age, come to certain conclusions about what is the true state and nature of reality. So this is, I don't even know what page it is, but it's chapter 2, which is the history of history, which is culture. So culture in brackets, the history of history, culture in brackets. This is chapter 2 in Today's Tomorrow's Yesterday, the persistence of existence. And it goes, like religion, philosophy concentrates on the basic and fundamental questions of creation, of purpose and the mysteries of the universe. However, unlike religion, philosophy approaches these enigmas by discussion and demonstration, giving no credibility to unconfirmed beliefs. So philosophy don't give a shit about unconfirmed beliefs, yeah? Or divine revelations. They don't care about divine people claiming they've had divine revelations and stuff. Philosophy proceeds to ignore traditional dogma. So philosophy don't want nothing to do with no religious dogma and stuff, basically, yeah? A few people have even regarded philosophy as an art form, such as the American philosopher, what's his name? Robert Rosick had suggested. He stated that just as a composer works with musical themes, harmonic structures, and meter, an artist with forms and colors, and a novelist with plots, characters, and actions, so a philosopher works with ideas, concepts, and questions which are molded and shaped, developed and redeveloped, ordered and reordered, and in doing so, sculptures a view. Do you get that? That's deep. What is philosophy, you ask? Similar to science, philosophy seeks to find answers to questions by the process of investigation and argument. It differs with science in that the questions it asks cannot be answered by way of practical experiment. Philosophical investigation is mental rather than experimental. So it's just based in discussion. We're not really using no apparatus and making science tests, Bunsen burners and beakers and all of that shit there. We don't have no time for that as philosophers. A philosopher just wants to discuss down to the detail, yeah, by argument and investigation, yeah. And the answers it's looking for can't be found by way of practical experiment. Philosophical investigation is mental rather than experimental. Though philosophy has existed since the dawn of civilization, itself, most Western Caucasians falsely teach that the study of philosophy as its own independent field was begun in Greece during the 6th century BC, while others say it began in India. The fact is, philosophy has always been a mental discipline of ancient Kush and Kemet and the global culture of indigenous melanated people in general. It is evident that the Caucasian is a secular being by design and nature. He began his version of philosophy, sorry, my screen's cracked, yeah, as a discipline separate from religion itself. So the Tamahu or the Muzungu, he is the one that separated philosophy as its own thing. So we always had philosophy in our teachings, like philosophy, like having investigation and discussion and debate about having God-body bills about the nature of reality and stuff like that. We always had that in every one of our cultures globally. But what it's saying here is that the Greeks were or Indians, whichever way you want to say, they was the first to kind of make it a separate thing, separate it from religion, separate it from spirituality, and just make it secular philosophy. And you can say it got its popularity in Greece with the Greek philosophers. And this is what I want to get at with you. I won't be reading for much longer from here. So it's been around for time, but they say it began in Greece in the 6th century BC or India as its own independent discipline. Yeah. Later on, under the strong compulsion of Judaism, Christianity and Islam, religion and philosophy were reunited during the peak of those empires. So during the reign of Judaism and Christianity and Islam, them religious people, when they came across stuff like Plato and Socrates and stuff, they tried to merge it into their religious teachings. Most of their learned men, when they came across Plato, whether it was a Muslim, whether it was a Jew, whether it was a Christian, they tried to incorporate Platonic kind of ideals and merge it into their Islam or merge it into their Christian. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to get into a couple of these characters for you. This is why this book, this 6th book in the Light of the Sun series is deep, because this show you from another angle. And we have to always look at the truth from different angles. It don't make no sense repeating yourself. Like we've already spoke from a quantum angle with quantum science. It don't make no sense trying to go back over that. You understand? There's nothing I can add to that. So I'm going to come from this angle. Hold on. So they were joined back, yeah, in the times of religion. This accelerated in the 17th century AD the period of enlightenment in Europe. The end of Europe's so-called Dark Ages, the 1500s AD, saw a renaissance of the intellectual and philosophy, of the intellect and philosophy, history, religion and art, and the courage to express what was then considered blasphemous and punishable by death. You understand that? So the main branches of philosophy are as follows, because a lot of people think philosophy is just like philosophy. There's loads of different types of philosophy, of schools in philosophy, just like in religion, you have different religions. So the main branches, there are more, but the main ones of philosophy are as follows, yeah? You got metaphysics, which inquires into the nature of reality, and this includes ontology. Ontology, we'll get to that later, I'll tell you what that is. It's concerned specifically with the nature of being. So metaphysics, which inquires into the nature of reality, like Phil Valentine and them man consider themselves metaphysicists, you understand? So you know that's an important school or discipline, yeah? Which is a philosophy, yeah? So they're more concerned, metaphysics, with specifically with the nature of being. Yeah, and then you got logic. That's a school in philosophy which establishes the principles of valid reasoning. They just dealing with logic. And then you got epistemology, which investigates the nature of knowledge. So they're looking at the nature of knowledge itself, those philosophers. Then you got ethics, like Socrates and them, yeah? And they deal with the story of moral values and principles. In addition, there are philosophies of many specific branches of human study and activity. Remember, I'm just giving you a piece of this book. Today's, tomorrow's, yesterday, from off my laptop, yeah? From a PDF, from the finished PDF. Also, among the many branches of philosophy, there are still many different schools of thought, yeah? What I just showed you was the branches of philosophy, 4 different branches. Also, they've got schools, which you have the skeptics who question whether it is possible to know anything. So they kind of like debunkers. They questioning everything, skeptics. They're skeptic about every theory. They're skeptic about every kind of truth. They're going to question the hell out of it. And because as far as they're concerned, they're questioning whether it's even possible to truly know anything. You understand what I'm saying? And then you got empiricists who claim that all knowledge is based on experience. You understand? You can't just speak knowledge. You have to have the experience of that knowledge, what you're trying to speak about. Once you've had the experience, then you truly can have the knowledge of it. That's what empiricists believe. Then you got rationalists who base knowledge on thought and reason. Then you got idealists for whom what is real does not exist independently of the human mind. So rationalists believe that you are making things real, like we were speaking about in the, is it the Living Library? That it's our mind that makes this universe real. This universe can't exist without an observer. It needs someone to observe and experience it, or beings. If you took all the beings out of the universe, then the universe don't exist. Because like I told you on that live, the universe really exists inside our brain. All of the processing that we do to interact in this reality is going on inside of the head. Do you understand? So therefore, really, there's no outside universe. You're creating that shit there. You're translating it into this. So that means if there's no observer for the universe, then the universe don't really exist. So that's kind of like an empirical, an idealist. So when I say that, I'm coming from like an idealist philosophy, yeah, because for idealists are the people who they believe what is real does not exist independently of the human mind. Then you got utilitarian, yeah, who relate the notions of right and wrong to what makes people happy or unhappy. So they believe all truth is subjective then. Whatever makes you happy, yeah, or unhappy determines you're right or wrong. That's what you call a utilitarian, yeah. And then finally in my list here, you got existentialist, yeah. And they are the people who try to understand the concerns of human beings, finding themselves in an apparently meaningless existence and having to deal with such matters as personal freedom and responsibility. So they're the type of people that will say, okay, life don't have no meaning. Life, you have to give meaning to life. The only thing that's definite in this reality is the nature of reality. There's no meaning to it. You have to give it meaning. That's what they're coming with as existentialists. Now let me show you a bit about the most famous philosophers and what they had to say about reality to add on to our discussion. We all know who Aristotle is, right? I've got him here in my book as Aristotle, the criminal and serial plagiarizer. He plagiarized all our shit out the Nile Valley, came with Alexander the Greek and them, and stole up all our shit out that Library of Alexandria. They told us they burnt all the books, but they never burnt shit. They've got them hidden in the Vatican, in that store, that secret storehouse underneath the Vatican. They got all our shit. Not much of it is what Aristotle stole. That's why Aristotle went with Alexander the Greek when he was going around colonizing and conquering people, because they needed someone to take all the knowledge and information out of this culture and kind of appropriate it to themselves. So Aristotle was that geezer. So he's a person of interest for us. It makes sense for us to study what they're associating with Aristotle, because 90% of the time that didn't even come from him. He stole that shit out of India or out of Egypt or wherever else they went, colonizing people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So anyway, Aristotle, the criminal and serial plagiarizer, yeah, Aristotle was a scientist. He wasn't just a philosopher. He was an astronomer. He was a Satanist. He was a politician in Greece too, yeah, and so-called inventor of what is called symbolic or formal logic. Sorry, symbolic or formal logic. I haven't got word on this in it, so the writings changed font and it looks all weird. He wrote extensively on biology, psychology, ethics, physics, metaphysics, and politics. That's a whole bunch of subjects that Aristotle wrote on. He wrote extensively on biology, psychology, ethics, physics, metaphysics, and politics, and set the standard for Europe in these areas all the way up to modern times. His influence is well known in Christian and Islamic circles. Like I said, these religious people tried to steal up his teachings and merge them into their thing. So he's well known in Christian and Islamic circles. He was a student of Plato in Plato's academy from the age of 17 years old, where he studied for 20 years until Plato's death. Later, he founded his own institution, the Lyceum, because these guys, the most well-known philosophers in Greece, in the classical time, they had their own schools. People like Socrates and Plato. So Aristotle was in the school of Plato, yeah? Another famous one you probably heard about. So after Plato died, after studying 20 years in Plato's school, he made his own school or institution called the Lyceum, where he would mold his own view, or a Kemetian Sudanese type hybrid view of philosophy. Aristotle focused on observation, yeah, and strict classification of stolen information and data, something that Socrates, Plato, and others learnt during their many educational trips to the universities of the Nile Valley, such as Waset's famous and legendary Ipet Asut. You probably know that as the Temple of Karnak, which is called in our language Ipet Asut. More so than his mentor, Plato, Aristotle had a scientific approach in his method. So this philosopher, Aristotle, the way he classed information and stuff, he was kind of like scientific in his approach, the way he recorded what he was doing and that. And is thus called the father of empirical science or observational science. His contributions in this field are unrivaled among the other Greek philosophers. He was specifically interested in the concept of purpose and natural function, which he believed could explain everything. So that's a bit about Aristotle, yeah? The next one I'm going to speak about is, hold on, did I say when Aristotle was around? I didn't give his date. But Avicenna, from 980 to 1037 AD, is another one. And though not as well known as Aristotle and the classic Greek writers, Avicenna was actually responsible for bringing Aristotle's work into the larger audience in the post-classical era. He originated a version of argument from the first cause, or the existence of God. Avicenna was also held in high esteem on account of his medical writings, and his textbook, The Canon of Medicine, remained a standard work until the 17th century. So that's more than 700 years this man's book was like the standard in medicine. You understand? From like 1037 to the 1700s. Yo. He was born near Bukharain, modern-day Uzbekistan, in 980. He had memorized the Quran, so this was a Muslim. You see what I'm saying about religious people taking Aristotle and Plato's and them's work and merging it into their religions. So this guy was a Muslim. We're talking 980 AD. So this is just like 200 years after the death of Muhammad, and Islam is just kicked off in that, yeah? This guy had memorized the Quran by the age of 10 years old, and by 21 was a well-rounded intellectual, accomplished in all areas of learning, including medicine, mathematics, music, astronomy, and logic. So you see today how Muslims go on like they only read Quran. Back in the beginning of Islam, they had guys like Avicenna, who was studying music, which they tell you today our music is haram. He's studying music, medicine, mathematics, Greek philosophy, astronomy, and logic. Avicenna lived in chaotic times when Turkish forces were fighting for dominance in Central Asia. At the same time, local Iranian dynasties were struggling to gain independence from the central Muslim dynasty, yeah, the Abbasid Caliphate, yeah, which was based in modern-day Baghdad, Iraq. Avicenna managed to write 200 treatises as well as several major works, on which the most famous are the Kitab Ashira, or the Book of Healing, and Al-Qunan, Al-Atib, the Canon of Medicine. Reason and reality were central to his philosophy. So this guy was a Muslim, and he was a philosopher, and he was an astronomer, and he was a physician, a medicine man. Do you see how these people used to... This is how you have to come to the truth. All these fields that he's in will give him a certain different perspective and scope on the truth. We're just trying to do it from like one little book. We want to find the truth by reading the Bible, and we never really try to understand anything outside of that, or the Quran. We want to be a Muslim, read the Quran, and we never really understand what Christians are saying in their Bible, or Jews. So we don't understand the truth of what they're saying, separate from the fakeness of what they're saying. We don't understand there's fakeness even in that Quran and shit. You understand what I'm saying? But everybody's just trying to hold one little book and come to the truth, when I'm showing you here, as a philosopher, as a theologian, as a scientist, if you bring all of them fields together, your metaphysics and your quantum, and you understand, you can get to the truth way more easier, especially if we're not locked in English. Yeah. So central to Avicenna's work was reason and reality. Yeah. He stressed the importance of gaining knowledge. He believed that through reason it was possible to progress through various levels of understanding and eventually reach the truth. Did you hear that? So he believed through reason, you understand, it was possible to progress through the various levels of understanding and eventually reach the truth about God, the ultimate object of knowledge. Avicenna held that God, the originator of existence, is pure intellect or consciousness. Yeah, this is a Muslim in the early days of Islam. As a Muslim, he attempted to unite elements of Aristotle's and Plato's philosophy with his Islamic beliefs in God as a creator. In this area, he differed from mechanical Orthodox Sunni Muslims we see today and their way of thinking, and also his belief in the Arab God was different than the classical Greek philosophies that he was trying to integrate. So it's kind of like a conflict, you get me? Because philosophy don't deal with no dogmas, but he was trying his best to merge philosophy with these Arabic dogmas and stuff, you understand? So this must be he must have came to a very hard conflict in some area of his brain. This is also further proof to the Muslims that the fact is Al-Quran's interpretation was developed in line with all other Abrahamic myths. Orthodox Sunni Islam is just another rehash of a false, watered-down philosophy or spirituality. This is what Muslims need to admit to themselves. This downgrade called Al-Islam today is controlled obviously by Indo-Aryan Neanderthal groups, be they European or Semitic Pale Arab, who translated from Greek also. That's why they, from Greek also, and thus the Greek Iesous, yeah, became the Christian Jesus, and then on into the Islamic Isa, Iesous, Jesus, Isa, yeah, Jesus, just another rehash of a mythological character who has never been confirmed. Avicenna took on the central subject of metaphysics and the existence of God. Drawing on Plato's ideas, he made a distinction between essence and existence. Essence, he said, is the nature of things, yeah, while their physical manifestation is different. So in other words, existence has to have been created, he thought, by a necessary essence that is itself not caused, if you understand what that means. Avicenna's work, philosophy, theology, and medicine had a dominant influence in the Mohammedan or Muslim world after his death, and remain significant even today. So this is to prove to Muslims that even their Islam was shaped off other people's, not just the Kemet thing, But when they went into Greece, when Arabs were getting strong and they was spreading their influence everywhere, when they came into contact with Greek culture and they learned all these philosophies of Socrates and Plato and all of that, notice how they didn't write them off. They actually stole these teachings just like Christians did and other people did, and tried to merge it into their teachings through people like Avicenna. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, Francis Bacon, yeah? 1561 to 1626 AD. Bacon was very important to philosophy in regards to his pioneering scientific methods. He is attributed with the famous saying, knowledge is power. He broke away from the two schools of Platonism and Aristotelianism, respectively. Firstly, Bacon did not hold on to the view of the rationalists that knowledge can be attained by examining and structure and content of words. So he didn't believe you can reason into no truth. He believed you have to like test and find the truth. Do you get me? Secondly, as the Aristotelians focus on collecting masses of empirical data or observation data and writing it down, collecting it, Bacon saw that he needed to devise a way of organizing and storing data that over time could be used to form inductive theories. So this is going into science now, yeah? Charles Robert Darwin, I'm not going to speak about him because we all know enough about Darwin to go and do our own research on him, but he was also a philosopher, not just a scientist, okay? And that natural selection shit that supports white supremacy, that's a philosophy, yeah? Democritus, circa 460 to 370 BC, yeah? Though it is stated that Democritus was hardly recognized in his day and time, the intellectuals of Europe honor him as an atomic theorist, and he is seen as the pinnacle of pre-Socratic thought. His atomist metaphysic has a modern flavor and is much admired. According to Democritus, the universe consists of invisible atoms in constant motion and traveling in an infinite void. To him, this was the fundamental nature of the universe. He realized that natural forces cause these atoms to combine and decombine and recombine to form different forms and things. He realized that the atoms themselves are eternal and indestructible. Democritus' atomism drew on earlier thinkers such as Heraclitus. Heraclitus' atomist philosophy agreed that change and motion are both possible and necessary states of nature. Still, Democritus also agreed with Parmenides' claim that non-existence or non-being is problematic. Democritus agreed that motion would be impossible in the universe if the universe consisted of nothing but matter. The universe, he stressed, would be an immense solid where change would be impossible. He is often remembered as the laughing philosopher for the emphasis he placed on the value of cheerfulness. Democritus believed that the only true non-being was the infinite void in which the atoms were eternally suspended in motion or vibration. He believed that the infinite void was the absence of matter and that this void existed independent of the atoms, an argument that was even debated up to the time of Sir Isaac Newton. You understand? Okay, so you've got different philosophers. You've got Descartes, René Descartes, you've probably heard of him, a French philosopher. You've got Immanuel Kant, you've probably heard of him. Yeah, he's arguably the most influential philosopher since Aristotle. Thomas Paine, Parmenides, who we just mentioned, Philo of Alexandria, obviously Plato. There's loads of them. Yeah, Plotinus. Who else we got? There's loads of them. John Paul Sartre. Socrates, obviously. Socrates was around from circa 470. They don't know when he was born, so they say he was around about 470 till 399 BC. Yeah, that's a long time ago, man. Xenophanes of Colophon, Benedict de Spinoza, Alan Turing, who came up with Alan Turing, this English mathematical codebreaker and founder of computer science, gave us the grand idea of artificial intelligence according to official Caucasian history. He condemned and cursed us with the science of AI, and he laid down a criterion for intelligence to the philosophy of the mind. So he's a very important character if he came up with that shit there. And then you get like Eastern philosophy, like Sufism and stuff, which is a different discipline unto itself. You get people like Jalal al-Din Muhammad Balki Aka Rumi, or who you might call Rumi, You know what I'm saying? You get Khalil Gibran, who wrote, what's the book that he wrote? It's The Prophet, innit? He's serious, like, yo, that's a serious. You get people like Osho, whose real name is Rajneesh, yeah? So you get like, Eastern philosophy is very, very distinct and different from Western philosophy, but they're both philosophy and the study of the nature of reality and stuff like that. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, let me light my spliff and blast through this page. Yeah, so philosophy is this the philosophical definition of reality is interesting as well, because reality have its own definition in the dictionary as to what I gave you as the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. And it's also the state or quality of having existence or substance. It's the quality or state of being. But philosophy gives its own definition to reality. It don't go by the definition of reality that the dictionary goes by. According to philosophy, yeah, reality is defined as a substance that actually exists in an external world. To be real is to exist. If it is real, then it is just real. That's what philosophy thinks about reality. It's defined as a substance itself that actually exists in an external world. To be real, to them, philosophers, is to exist. And if it is real, then it is just real. Yeah? In Western philosophy, reality is the totality of a system, whether it's known or unknown. Yeah? So when we ask what is the nature of reality, because reality has a nature, just like nature has its own nature. Yeah? Reality is the independent nature and existence of everything knowable. Yeah? Whether it's knowable by logical interference, whether it's knowable by us having an empirical observation, or whether it's through discussion, that's what it is. Reality is the independent nature and existence of everything knowable. Yeah? So when you go into science and quantum physics and stuff, you often hear them say, like, what is the soul and what is consciousness and what is the mind? Because there's really the jury isn't in on it. They've never really come up with a satisfactory answer for what is soul, what is the spirit, what is the mind, what is consciousness, where is consciousness located in the brain and stuff like. They've never, the jury's still out. They've never came in with answers like this. At first, they used to question whether consciousness was even real and whether the spirit really existed and the soul and stuff, until they came up with Curlian photography and stuff. So I ask you, for your own independent study, yeah, what is consciousness? Yeah, you need to define that for yourself, yeah, because only you can give it a definition for yourself. It's not for others to define that for you. What is consciousness? Because based on my research and my experience, consciousness is Barkalum. When we talk about the all that wanted to have all these experiences, yeah, that is consciousness. Consciousness is the all experience in itself, or the all in awareness of itself. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's the all in awareness of the environment it's in, the body it's in, the outer world, the inner world, the other beings that's around. That's consciousness to me. Muzungu's looking for some kind of like Harvard explanation for this thing. For me, it's really simple. It's the mind of God. That's what consciousness is. So consciousness is God. Whether it's consciousness in the water, whether it's consciousness in this here plant, whether it's consciousness in this vessel that I'm giving you this message in, it's consciousness, yeah? And it permeates through everything and it animates this whole reality. You understand what I'm saying? Then, remember earlier I said I'm going to tell you what ontology is, because when I was going through the branches of philosophy, it mentioned ontology. I can't remember which branch mentioned it, but it spoke about that branch was dealing with the nature of existence itself, yeah? So ontology, as a branch of philosophy, that's exactly what it does. It studies the existence, it studies being, it studies becoming, it studies reality, yeah? It includes the questions of how entities are grouped, yeah, into basic categories, and which of these entities exist on the most basic level, on the most fundamental level. That's ontology. That's another one of our science that we were schooled in Kemet. Do you understand? So I'm saying we were alchemists. We didn't believe in anything. We didn't have no religion or no dogmas to say, oh, we believe a guy's gonna float out the clouds, and save us all. We was doing experiments as fucking philosophers, as scientists, as theologians, as astronomers, as alchemists. Do you see what I'm saying? We was hands-on. Our shit was tangible. We didn't need to believe in spook gods and fake Christ. Yes, Mr. Crow, wagwan. You're gonna make noise in a minute, innit? That's why you've got to land it up there. Namastu. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. So ontology is the branch of philosophy that studies existence. It studies becoming. It studies being and reality. Yeah, and that means it deals with inquiry. It deals with questions. So it questions everything. It includes the questions of how entities are grouped into basic categories and which of these entities exist on the most fundamental level. So basically, ontology is the science of what is. So it's the science of allness. Because remember we said all is. You can't put nothing else after that or you're going to limit the all. So if all is and ontology is the science of what is, then this is the science of the all where we need to be based. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hold on. Yeah. So the science of what is. Yeah. It studies, when it studies things, yeah, it studies the kinds of things and the structures of things on the most fundamental level. Yeah. Okay. So also I wanted to go back to the word ascension, yeah, when we're dealing with reality, because we in this matrix, they tie us into this word, oh, the ascension, we're going to ascend. But really and truly, we should be looking at transcendence, because ascension is just reaching higher. And this matrix has got levels. So if we're talking about ascension, we could ascend and still be in the matrix. We could just ascend to a higher plane in the fucking matrix. So we shouldn't be stuck on this word ascension and ascending. We should be on the word transcendence, which means we go through all of this shit and come out. We leave the fucking matrix. We come out, we transcend it. You understand? We go beyond the fucking matrix, man. We see through this fucking shit. We start seeing numbers and shit like Neo, because we've transcended this shit. We're not ascending and being stuck on a higher level in the matrix. So we gotta get away from people sticking us on this word about ascension. Because yo, there's levels to this shit. There might be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 levels in this fucking matrix. So you could ascend and still think you're somewhere when you're still trapped in the fucking program in the matrix. You just ascended to a higher level in the matrix. You understand what I'm saying? So transcendence for me is more important than ascension in that sense, if that makes sense. That's another illusion of reality is what I'm trying to say. This stuff about ascension, because the transmigration of the soul, we're supposed to escape this prison planet or this prison matrix, and to do that, you can't ascend. You're going to have to transcend. You're going to have to transcend time, the time lock that they've put on us here with this false prison called time. We're going to have to transcend the shit, not ascend. You can ascend and still be locked in this shit here. You see what I'm saying? Also, a lot of people are into psychedelics, microdosing, taking mushrooms, taking peyote, taking ayahuasca, taking, all types of different things where they go on different kind of like DMT, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to judge people and come out here and speak on that, because me, myself, I don't use none of that shit. I really feel like we've got DMT in our brain naturally. That makes us able to dream and see into the future and the past and certain things. So I'd rather find a way to activate that shit within myself. I don't think I got the brain to be dealing with them things. And at the same time, I am aware of stuff like microdosing and how the ancient people used to do that. They used to microdose on mushrooms and stuff, and it used to help people, and it still does. There's studies that show that helps people with depression and stuff. So I would just say each to their own on that, but be very careful, because certain people have addictive personalities, and certain people's minds react different to other people's mind. So what might be mild for you, and you can take this mushroom and whatever, you might give something to somebody and they're not prepared to take that shit. The way they're wired, that might fuck them totally up. So I will say, if that is something you are looking to do, to see through this veil and go to the other side like they like to tell you on these DMT trips and that, please be very cautious. I would advise you against it. I really feel you don't need none of that shit to reach the levels where we're trying to go. And once you start getting on that shit, most of us now in this society, we start depending on it. We become like hooked on the shit and then start abusing it. And from you start abusing shit like that, it's not like weed, where you just knock out for 2 hours and go and sleep. It's not like that. You fucking overdose on one of them kind of things there, your brain might never be the same again. A part of your brain that's open might never shut down again. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for me, that's why I've always like, nah, I don't need that shit. I'm going to stay away from it. Look how I am with weed. I smoke weed every day. So if I started fucking with mushrooms and certain different A-class psychedelic drugs, yo, I'll fuck myself up. I'll be more into this shit than I'm doing. I'm not doing no lives and shit no more. I just want to trip out. You understand? And like I said, I'm not going to judge people because I'm not going to say they don't help. They do help people. There's evidence that our ancient cultures used to use these shits, but there was a methodology to the way they used to use this shit. You couldn't just get high in your fucking house and stuff like that. You probably go and see a priest and they'll tell you, yo, for what you need to take this thing and we're going to guide you through this experience and whatnot. And you do it like that. It's probably once in a lifetime thing, or you did it a couple times. It's not like we live in our society today and we just want to smoke every day and we want to take all of this stuff every day. We're addictive personalities. We're addicted to telly. We're addicted to social media. We're addicted to weed. We're addicted to all types of stuff. So if you want to go and dabble with psychedelic drugs, yeah, just know and be honest to yourself, because if you're an addictive personality, you're going to fuck up on that shit there. Period. Because from what I've seen, it's a beautiful high. It's a beautiful experience. And it's just going to take you over. You're just going to want to just have... I've seen people. I watched Mike Tyson hotboxing and stuff. He can do that shit. His life is sorted out to a certain extent. He's got all the money he needs. He's looking after his family. He's inspiring people or whatever. I ain't going to judge Mike. But where we are on ground level, trying to come to a truth and trying to come to our best self and stuff, I wouldn't advise that, especially for young people whose brain ain't developed and shit. You understand? So I wouldn't advise for you what I wouldn't advise for myself. And that's the only reason I'm saying that. And also, I know people who watched it, who are watching me, who do use them stuff. And I'm not judging any of you who do use that. I'm just talking from my fucking perspective with my kind of brain. I would trip out on that shit. I'll be like a crackhead on mushrooms or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say what I said. But as I said, in our ancient cultures, Olmecs, Mayans, Egyptians, Sumerians, all of the ancient cultures, man, white folk got smoking from us. We used to use a methodology with certain things and we saw them as allies. So you would go and see the shaman or the priest and they would show you, okay, we're going to use an ally because you're going to need help to go to this realm because you're not going to be able to get there. You've been practicing this, or for whatever reason, they will be able to see, yo, you might need some help. So here's this ally. An ally is certain plants, certain, you can have an ally like a ayahuasca. That's what the priest has assigned him, his ally, for him to be able to see through this matrix, to see through this illusion and show you that, yo, shit we're talking about is real, reptilians, the whole shit. So when they trip out on that DMT or that ayahuasca or that peyote or whatever ally that shaman or priest chose to give this person, mushrooms or whatever, that would be their ally in life until they achieved a certain purpose. Then they won't be on that ally no more. They wouldn't need to use the mushrooms no more, or use the peyote, or use the ayahuasca, what they call the plume serpent. They will use it for a certain time to get to a certain stage if it required them to use it. Some people wouldn't have to use that at all to reach that stage. But we're in a culture of today where we just want to be on drugs and shit. We want to smoke weed, we want to do mushrooms, and we do this shit on the daily. We do this shit on the regular. On the weekends, we want to mash up our brains on these shits here, alcohol and everything. So this is why I say what I say in regards to psychedelics and stuff like that, okay? And I just wanted to put that out there. Now my daughter, her name is Akasha, yeah? We've been speaking about consciousness, reality, philosophy, ontology, theology, science. The reason I called my daughter Akasha is because of the Akasha records. Because I was so fascinated when I came into the first time I came into that knowledge. Because me as a Muslim, I never heard about no Akasha records. I came from a religious upbringing. So when I came out of religion and I realized the reality that bastard, this universe has its own brain. It's got like a brain that connects to the past, present and future. I was fascinated by this. So when I went through loads of names for my daughter and I was choosing, I wanted to choose either Egyptian or Sumerian name. Akasha is Sumerian and Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, it means either. So we're going to talk about either now, having spoke about the reality and philosophy and ontology. As we said in the last live, all major scientists believe that either is not even a theory. It's the only shit that's certain, yeah? Every other thing is a theory, but for them, either's not a theory. And the either comes from the Greek philosophers. It's the philosophers that got to this term of the either. You see, when I was reading from Today is Tomorrow is Yesterday, and a couple of them philosophers mentioned the void. I think it was Democritus, and they said he believes that in the emptiness of everything, and that the emptiness of space or the void is separate from all the atoms that operate in it. So they came to this term, they named that void, the great void, the ether. That's what they call it. And they say it's the essence of emptiness. Remember what we said in our own discussions, how nothing is actually everything. It's got all the ingredients in it for creation, free energy, all of that shit, the vacuum of what we're calling space. They calling it in the Greek times, yo, the void. They're saying everything is inside the void. They're saying, listen, if the void wasn't there, then nothing could move. There would be no motion in the universe, no change, no movement. Everything would just be solid. He said it's because of the ether and things is suspended in the ether as to why we can have motion and we can have movement and stuff, because everything's floating in this ether and the ether's inside it, so to speak. So we're going back to this same principle of allness that we discussed without having to refer to these guys, these Greek philosophers and stuff. We was already having this conversation on ourselves. I'm just trying to bring you into the philosophical side of it now. You already got the quantum side, the religious side. We speaking now from a philosophical side. Do you see what I'm saying? We fucking with the Philosopher'S Stone on some Harry Potter shit. That's what we're doing. So Akasha is another way of saying either, yeah, in the Sanskrit language. And as I said, according to the Greek philosophers and the Ayurvedic text, also Ayurvedic text is like Hindu philosophy. In the Ayurvedic text, they came up with the same shit, talking about the essence of the emptiness, which they call the Akasha. So they speaking about the same ether that these Greek people are speaking about, these Greek philosophers, yeah? And they say the space element is what they call ether, this emptiness, this nothingness. And they say out of all the elements in creation, that's the most stable element, the ether. And the ether, you can call it black matter. It's just darkness. You can't fucking see it. You can't measure it. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. None of that shit there. It's odorless and you understand? So that comes into now, inside of the ether is where heat moves. Heat and light, yeah, and vibrations and frequencies and radio signals. You see how this works? That's how this universe can work now, because we're in this ether, and it's like kind of like a form of water. It's kind of like water vapor, and water and all that stuff is different forms of the ether. And when you go to its most subtle state, then it's just a nothingness. But we're all swimming in it. So even sound, frequencies, light, without the ether, it couldn't work. It swims through the ether, yeah? And that brings us to the discussion of the sacred Om principle. When we say Om, and you go into the Emerald Tablets, and it speaks about how creation was brought in through sound. And Tahuti speaks about the sacred utterance of sound, the Om. And the Om principle, which in our language means mother or nation. Even in all Semitic languages, Hebrew, Arabic, Chaldean, Galilean, Ugarit, Semitic, Phoenician, Canaanite, that shit means mother. And even today in Islam, when you say or ummi, yeah, it means mother or the nation. Same thing, still going on now, you understand? And that sacred there's something or someone that's always saying it in an unbroken chain to make this physical universe stay together. If that stops for one moment, all this shit falls apart. So we're going into discussion now of within this ether, we have frequency, we have vibration, we have sacred sound, or the principle in the Nun. Because in Egypt, this Akasha, ether, and in Greece, what they call in the ether, in Egypt, we see it as the Nun. N-U-N, Nun, which we see as the womb of the universe. The universe, this physical reality, is born out of a womb. It's like, remember I said the universes are the biggest beings. So the universe is born and die, just like beings are born and die. So the universe is coming from a womb, which is the eternal Nun, which is a feminine principle in Kemet. And it's just the blackness of space, where the cosmic egg of Ra came out of. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's the mother goddess principle. So it's the same ether we're talking about here when we're talking about the Nun. And all these radio waves and radio stations and stuff operate in the Nun. Like I said, if we didn't have the ether, then we couldn't have light shining on Earth, traveling through the vacuum of space, if you want to put it like that. Even though we know space don't exist, we're going to just use these terms to keep the discussion flowing, yeah? So also time runs through the ether. The either and time or space, time and space is locked. So you can't have either without having time. And you can't have time without having space. So you can't have existence and life in this physical simulation without having time space or the time space continuum or either, which creates time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people that like to say, I don't care about what happened after the Big Bang. Yeah, I want to know what happened before the Big Bang. There's no before the Big Bang because there's time don't exist before the Big Bang. Before the Big Bang, there's no space, there's no time. So therefore, before the Big Bang don't make no sense. There's no before. The Big Bang, that's the start. So there's no before the start. The start is the start. If you want to take it there, before the Big Bang is nothingness. We're back to this either. We're back to fuck all. Do you understand? There's no before the Big Bang. As in the standard model of cosmology, you will hear Mzungu scientists, some of them saying, yo, I want to study what happened before the Big Bang. There's no fucking before the Big Bang. There's just eternity before the Big Bang. Do you understand? And for that, we have to go back more than 76 trillion years ago to the first Big Bang. And you're going to have to find out of all these suns, which one banged first. Because they all had a fucking Big Bang. You see what I'm saying? So when we speak about radio stations and radio signals and stuff, it's like, if I got a radio right now, there's X amount of channels or stations on this radio. I can only tune into one of these channels at a time. So let's say I'm in the third dimension. That's one of these radio channels on my dial. When I tune my fucking dial, I'm tuned into one. You hear all the squeaking and shit and you fine tune it. Okay, I'm in the channel now. That sounds crisp. I'm in 3D. It doesn't mean that there's no other dimensions going on. There's loads of fucking different channels on this radio. I'm just tuned into one fucking channel. I could retune my dial and tune out of this third density and tune into some other density way up there, which is the 6th or the 7th. Or I could tune down where I've gone into 2D and shit, flat earthers. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say to you is all these stations exist at the same time. Or you could use the analogy of the TV. I could only watch one channel at a time on one TV. So I can't watch 5 channels on my one TV. I'm going to have to choose which channel I want to watch. So, okay, I watch BBC One, boom. Yo, BBC Two's still going on, even though I can't see it. It's not froze. BBC Three's still going on, yeah, or ITV. Channel 4's still going on. You understand what I'm saying? All this shit is still going on. We're locked into one channel here. We're in one bubble, pondfish perception, one bubble of reality. And we're trying to understand reality from this bubble, or from this Bible, or from this Quran, or from this Torah, or from this Upanishads, or from this Vedas, without knowing that bastard. I'm going to have to study this, but then I'm going to have to come outside of this and study everything else to see how this shit holds up to everything else. How does this hold up to science? How does this hold up to philosophy? How does this hold up to my own self-scrutiny? Some people don't do that. They just say, well, I was born Muslim, so to me it's right, and everything else is wrong. You don't even know nothing about anything else. The only thing you know about anything else is what Muslims told you. So it's bound to be a biased view. Whatever you know about Christians came from Muslims in your mosque. So that's like white folk speaking about us, black folk. They're not really going to speak the truth about us. They're going to have a biased view of us, like when you watch these Egyptologists and shit. So most of these religious people, if you ask if a Christian, everything he knows about Kemet and about Muslims and everything came from a Christian pastor. So his views on Egypt are biased because he ain't never really said, you know what, let me have a look at that for myself without the pastor, without a Christian biased lens. Let me take that fucking lens off and now go and research this for myself just to see how my Bible holds up to this guy's Muslim Quran, or holds up to this Hindu Upanishads, or holds up to this Sumerian tablets, or holds up to this atheist thing where they believe there's no God. A lot of people are scared to do that. But if you want to be an ontologist and come to, yo, the nature of existence and being and becoming and God and all of that stuff, yo, that shit takes courage. Not just to speak it. It don't just take courage for me to sit here and speak it to you. It takes more courage for you to accept it. For you to say, you know what, I'm going to have to go on this shit. And when I come to the truth, even if it rocks what I thought was the truth, yo, I'm going to have to fucking take the fear away and accept this shit. Otherwise, I'm kidding myself. I'm not honest with myself. I'm stuck in this program that's called Christianity, Judaism, Rastafarianism, Egyptology, whatever school, whatever box it is that you're trapped in. Do you see what I'm saying? I started that shit at 15, man. That's why I'm the way I am now. Because I honestly took that approach as a youth, man. Like, yo, I'm going to have to teach myself shit because Nobody's willing to tell me the truth. If I ask my family, they're giving me a Muslim lens. I don't want a Muslim lens when I want to study Kemet and stuff. So I don't want to ask a Muslim. I want to come from people who spent their life studying Kemet and bringing out the glories of Kemet. I want to hear what they have to say. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I want to study Islam, I don't want to hear from a Kemet man what he's going to say about Islam. I'm going to go to a Muslim who's been Muslim and practices the Islam and is a beautiful being, and his way of practicing is beautiful. If I want to go to a Christian and learn about Christianity, I'm not going to go to a Muslim and say, yo, tell me about Christians. He's going to have a Muslim view about Christians. Do you see where I'm going with this? You have to be careful of how you do with your research. You can't just take things from anyone. Especially, you have to know what you're asking someone and who you're asking and what lens they're answering you from. They might be giving you a lens that is against what you're trying to deal with. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to become your own teacher, yeah? And be able to take your lens off and say, okay, I'm going to scrutinize all my own shit, yeah? So therefore, I need to take off this lens that's going to bias my view when I look into this shit, because I'm already leaning one way. Do you understand? And this is the illusion of reality as to why they trap us with these paradigms and they bang it in our heads in the first 7 years. Whatever you learn in the first 7 years, that's going to shape your thoughts for your entire life. Do you know how hard it is now to undo them fucking paradigms, that mental furniture that's been put in you since you burped on your mum's shoulder till you came to know yourself? In the first 7 years, you became your own little person. Yeah, and whatever you did in them 7 years, your beliefs, your religion, your whatever your parents told you, the things that you've seen, behaviors and shit, that shapes your entire rest of your fucking life, man. That's your mental furniture. You understand what I'm saying? That takes real work to have when you've got the wrong paradigms to go and fucking, yo, that's like knocking down a building, like strapping it up with bombs and blowing it up without mashing up the things that you still want standing. Like it's yo, serious shit. Do you understand? So yeah, and it's the same with, as I said, with these radio signals going through the ether and shit. Take a DVD now in your mind's eye, and with a DVD, you don't have to start at the start. You can go straight to the menu or scenes, and you can start at the fucking end. Or you can pause it. You understand what I'm saying? Or you can start in the middle. You don't have to start at the start. So time is like the DVD. If you knew how to unlock your zero time reference, which means when you were born, you were given a time lock where it locked you into a certain time. And that's not by archons. That's the way this realm works. So people don't just float into different times and it's all haphazard. All of us have a time lock, and you have to earn you have to become worthy so you can undo your time lock and understand that, hold on, past, present, and future is happening now. It's not in the past, it's not in the future, it's not now. Everything is now. The past is happening now. That shit ain't gone. That shit's still happening now. If you could undo your time lock, you could step over the wall of time and be speaking to King Tut or any one of your ancestors. Or you could step over the time lock, just like me stepping over this wall, and I could be speaking to future self or future ancestors and shit like that. Do you understand? But because we've been given this false illusion of reality, yeah, we don't even understand what it means when we're born and we're given a zero time lock on our birthday. Your birthday is your time lock. So you can't get lost on floating through timelines and shit. It's in your DNA that you was born in this time on this linear day. Bang! Do you understand what I'm saying? But Tamahu, like in their Philadelphia experiment and shit, they found ways to undo the fucking time lock with creating enough, creating a reactor that creates enough radiation and electromagnetism where it fucking just overrides the time lock. Yeah, so then they can start time jumping and shit like that. But it has hazards because they're unsanctioned and they don't really know what they're doing. It's like recreation for them. They wreck creation. They make fucking consequences that we're still dealing with now. But that's a whole other live, yeah? Let me find where I was because I was going nice. I know I'm going to finish this, yeah? So yeah, what I wanted to say, time is the same as like the DVDs and stuff. So all of this stuff about the Eva and consciousness and vibration and philosophy, understand now that when the energy vibration slows down, it densifies and it becomes solid. So as I said in the other lives, this is our technology of consciousness that is beyond solid, liquid and gas. It's beyond the three states of existence. So this body is the technology of the cosmos. It's the technology of God. This tree is the technology of God. It's got systems in it that's running. Even its mere chlorophyll or the melanin has got systems to do with it. Lymphatic system, respiratory systems and shit. This takes in, yeah, carbon dioxide and lets out oxygen. And then at night time, it takes in oxygen and lets out carbon dioxide. So this is a whole technology. This is like a machine right here, just like my brain's a machine. All of this stuff is a technology of consciousness. And I say all that to say, we are avatars, just like you watch the Avatar movie. This body is an avatar. It's the technology of the cosmos, of the stars. It's made of stardust. You understand? Now let's go to, when we're speaking about frequencies, vibration, sound, the on principle and stuff, this links into why I'm telling you guys, yo, language, we got to come out of English, because linguistics has a lot to do with it, and the tones that you vibrate on and the tones that you speak on. That's why certain people's voice, you can be like, oh, he's got a nice voice, man. His voice is like medicine, or her voice is like, she's singing. I love the sound of her voice. Or, yo, I don't like his voice. Rare. Tones and shit is very much, they're very important, they're very significant. And especially when you're talking about languages, yeah, linguistics, the linguistics of languages. So now this whole world is locked into English. The whole modern world, the language of the modern world is English. That's why I like to, when I'm speaking with Muslims who don't want to see, I'm telling them, okay, you're telling me your God Allah was all-knowing. Why did you write the Quran in Arabic? Only 2% of the world know Arabic well enough to teach it. So you're telling me this Quran is a universal language, and your God is all-knowing, this Allah. But your God didn't know enough to know in the end times, when people would be more privy to this Islam stuff. It's outside of Arabia now, it's in the world, yeah? The language of the world is going to be English. Why not put it in English? Why is this all-knowing God put it in Arabic when only 2%, and I'm talking the Arab world, these are Muslims, only 2% of Muslims understand Arabic. Most of them are speaking Urdu and Punjabi and English. Most of them are speaking English. But you got Urdu, they still keep their Hindu language, or Punjabi or Gujarati or whatever else. They can't even speak Arabic. Just like the Christians don't speak Hebrew. You understand what I'm saying? They don't even speak Greek. You understand? So if your God was so all-knowing and he's looking to send a universal message, yeah, remember the Quran wasn't put into English until 1924 or some shit like that by, what's his name? Sheikh Abdullah Yusuf Ali, yeah? So didn't God know that by that time, most of the world would be speaking English, because these archons would have converted the language of trade and the language of the world into English. That's why if you go to anybody's country, you have to see English signs. Yeah, but if you come to England, you ain't gonna see no French, no Spanish, no German, no signs. Yeah, nigga, you best learn English. Yeah, but English-speaking people, we don't have to learn another language. We can go anywhere in the world and we will find somebody or some sign or something written in English. But everybody else, your ass best learn English. Because any time you want to trade or be on the world stage and shit, you're going to have to know English. So all other countries, they teach that shit as compulsory. Yo, you got to learn English if you want to get along in the modern world, you know. You can't just go and speak Urdu. Yeah, the world don't function on Urdu. They did that deliberately because they understand what semantics and etymology and word magic is. And I've told people in my book, Coronation, that English is really angelist. It's the language of the fallen angels. It's created as a cursive language, so it traps people, and people put spells on themselves, and they're able to put spells on you, and they make it even worse than it is by introducing forms of it like what you call legalese and stuff, where it doesn't even make no fucking sense. Do you understand? And it's only when you study common law and stuff like that you come to realize, hold on, this whole shit is based on deception. English. Like if I say I'm gonna see you tomorrow, I don't have to mean tomorrow as in Tuesday. That could mean 200 years from now. So the language is very vague. It's not vivid like how we was when we were speaking Nuwabic and we were communicating clearly. English or Angelis is a language of miscommunication, so that I can trick you, so that you can't hold me to account for nothing I'm tricking you with. It's a snake tongue thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so this brings me on to tell you, a lot of people are studying common law, and they know that maritime law is false, and this is the illusion of reality. We're all being run by maritime law and all this bullshit. It's not even the law of the lands that we're living under. These colonizers operate by maritime law because they're colonizers, and they fool us to think that this has always been the fucking law of the land. Do you understand what I'm saying? But beyond all of that, common law, shout out to Steph, yeah? because he showed me a form on the what's called quantum grammar, which goes even beyond common law. Quantum grammar shows you that all contracts written in English, not even legalese, just basic English, any contract written in English is null and void. It's null and void because most of them words in English cancel each other out. And when you scan it with quantum grammar, that fucking shit will become void. So as of, even as of 2020, when all of this shit started with the conjunction and shit, all of that shit's void. Tickets, fines, parking fines, taxes, mortgage, all of that shit's void. You're keeping it alive because you keep paying it. You keep acknowledging these shits and paying them and seeing it as some kind of authority over you. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we don't have to be paying none of that shit no more. All of that shit is fell through. All of that shit is null and void. You understand? So do a study of quantum grammar for yourself. Yeah? Now, this matrix that we're talking about, this illusion of reality, this began 6,000 years ago. Most of you would have known that already if you've been watching me regularly. This shit started 6,000 years ago in ancient Sumer with rogue Anunnakis and Archons teaming up, and Enlil and them teaming up with these fucking Archons and making this, putting a matrix on this shit. Because remember, Enki got took off the project. He got took off the project, so now Enlil's running his own project. And he's using the children of Cain to make his own people. You understand what I'm saying? As if you go back to that black skins, white mass life, yeah? So now they're making this thing into a matrix, because remember, there's two agendas. Enki and them, yes, they built a matrix, but it wasn't a matrix that was against us. It was just a matrix that worked for the Anunnaki. Remember, they came here to get gold and stuff. So they needed to make a certain kind of system or certain kind of structure so they could be successful at getting this goal. Okay, we're going to make some beings, humans, so we're going to have to make a matrix to control this shit, what we're doing. It can't just be all haphazard. We're responsible for this shit. So you had one side that wanted to do it responsibly, and then that's Enki. When he got took off the project, now the irresponsible ones come, okay, this is what we're going to do, yeah? So we're going to lock down the Schumann resonance to 7.83. Yeah, we're going to strip their DNA and break it. These niggas got too much DNA. We don't like how Enki made them so powerful. So that 12-strand DNA, yeah, lock off that shit. That 3-strand DNA. Take one of the strands so it's now only a double helix. And the 12 ladders, break them. So now the DNA is malfunctioned, it's defunct. So when these niggas is born, they don't even know they gods or nothing no more. We don't want them to know this shit. So this is what all the thing in the Bible is about the snake in the garden was telling Adam and Eve, yo, this Enlil geezer, because it's Enlil. The snake really is Enki, and God is Enlil. Yeah, saying, yo, how did the man become like one of us? Because he don't want these beings to become like him. Enki saved some of them and woke them up to the shit. Yeah, Adam and Eve, this is their beginning, these black devils. Most of them became the Cainites. Yeah, and if you read from Genesis 3 through Genesis 4, yeah, the Cain story just goes dead. All of a sudden, it's dead. And Cain's story ain't no joke story. You would think, okay, Cain sinned, he killed Abel, so God banished him, and he died somewhere, decrepit, yeah? This nigga had a wife, this nigga built up cities, this nigga had thousands of fucking grandkids that was carpenters, engineers, astronomers, all these niggas, they were named after these niggas. So Adam and Eve went on to have another son. Cain's dead. So the Anunnaki gave him another son. It's like, don't worry, we're going to give you another son. Have him at this time, so now he'll have this personality, so he won't be like Cain. So they had this son. This son's called Seth. Notice they name him after the Egyptian god, Seth, who's an evil god. Yeah, but he's Seth anyway, yeah? So now Seth's had a son called Enos. And now this is the start of us today, modern man. This, according to the Bible, is Enos. So you're going to have to go to Genesis 4:26, because it's only here when man starts to worship some spook god. Now we start worshiping God. And then, at that time, then means at that time, that was when humans started to worship a god outside of themselves with Enos. Because Enos was the first human being, yeah? Now, remember, Enlil's controlling this whole shit. Even though he's using the Cains to breed his own people, he's still dumbing down everybody else. So with Enos now, they've robbed Enos of this DNA and stuff. They broke his DNA. So this youth's born like retarded. This nigga don't know he's a god. 4 of his senses have gone. He ain't got no telepathy. He ain't got no intuition. He ain't got no psychometry. He ain't got no clairvoyance. He's just got this 5 sense shit going on that we've got now. So he was known as Enos, or what the Quran calls as Nas, yeah, and that means maimed mortal being. Now we're only dumbed down to 5 fucking senses. Now we're in the matrix. Now the Schumann pulse is deaded down to 7.83 hertz, locking us in this sleep frequency, like mind control frequency. They had this shit running throughout all of Sumeria. They had antennas on them step pyramids. On the top of them ziggurats on the towers, they had antennas beaming out frequencies and shit, making this realm what it is now. They're licking down trees, chopping down our trees, using fellas and shit to chop down. They reordered the realm and made it into this fucking matrix. That began in certain waves 6,000 years ago. And that's what we was fighting anytime you go into history and it says, yo, these people came from Mesopotamia to attack Egypt and shit. And man like Taharqa or Tutmosis III had to run up out there and fight these man and stop them from... Yo, we was repelling them for thousands of years, not just white folk. These black devils, they giving us a false reality with this illusion of reality and religion and false history and all of that shit. Do you understand? So the Matrix began 6,000 years ago in ancient Sumer, and it began with the monetary system, the system of religion, where they started introducing certain fucking religions, star religions, sun religions, all type of fucking religions, yeah. The justice system, yeah, which brought a certain type of politics and gave governing, a certain kind of government. Because don't get me wrong, we had like a institution of Pharaoh, which was a theology for us. Everyone believed in this shit here, yeah? Yo, Pharaoh, and the house of Pharaoh, which is the man and the woman and everybody in the house, not just the man. And then we had an administrative part of that house that dealt with all the administration of what you would call the governmental responsibilities, like courtiers and fucking viziers and all of that type of shit, yeah? And then we also had a standing army where it was like, yo, these white people are fucked up. We need a paid army where niggas is fed and paid with a wage all year. So if these niggas invade us tomorrow, we can fucking be ready to fight their ass tomorrow. Because before time, we never even had no paid standing army. It was only up to the time of Tutmos and stuff where them pharaohs like, fuck this, I'm creating an army. I'm going to pay these niggas. And then after it changed, man like Ramesses and them kept that shit up, where they built a whole garrison city on the border. The turquoise city was a garrison city, where if man are trying to attack us, we right on the border ready for defending the rascal thing. You understand? That's different. But this matrix, they bought it on us. We didn't go out trying to colonize people and trying to build empires and shit. The history books are lying to you. You need to invest in treasures in the sand to get all of this shit, so you're able to sit down and, you know, absorb this shit, so you can give it to your children, so you can articulate it to the next person and shit. That's what time we're in. We're not in the time of just consuming. You understand? We're in the time where we have to be able to spit this shit to the next person who needs it and who can take it further than maybe even we can. Yeah? So Enlil hijacked the experiment, as I said, in other lives, yeah? This matrix that we're speaking about, this illusion of reality, began 6,000 years ago. It involves 23 different alien groups, or Anunnaki, if you want to call them Anunnaki. But that word Anunnaki involves 23 different alien groups, which was spearheaded by the wise Rizikians, yeah? When they left, and left Enlil and Enki in charge, yeah? And then Enki got took off the program. Obviously, Enlil's in charge now. So that's jeopardized the whole thing on our side. To them Anunnaki, they couldn't really care less. They could, but it's like, yo, we left you guys in charge. So if anything goes wrong, one of you are going to have to answer as to what went wrong here. And Lil's chose to go rogue. He's left us with this fucked up matrix. Do you understand what I'm saying? This matrix is run by a Saturn-Moon connection. We've explained this in other lives before. The Saturn-Moon matrix is what makes this false illusion, this deception, able to run. It's a false reality based on half-truths and whole lies. Your governments and your politicians, they don't represent us. They're not us. Governments don't represent the people on earth or the common people. Governments represent this entity that invaded us and invaded us a long time ago. And governments and politics and democracy and capitalism, all that shit is theirs. That's their shit. They started that shit in Sumeria. Politics and all of that shit started there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So they don't represent us. They represent the entity. An invasion that happened in waves beginning thousands of years ago in 4000 BC. Yeah, we repelled them many, many times. We stopped these beings in their waves from trying to take this fucking realm. And every time we stop them, they wait and regroup and they hit us in another fucking wave. And one of them times, after thousands of years of fighting and defending the realm against these motherfuckers, one day we just surrendered, man. Humans fucking gave up. And here we are now. Do you understand? At the end of it. Thousands of years ago, I can't tell you what date. We fucking gave up, man. One of the times when Tahuti's telling you how we unmasked them and dashed them off the realm, that was talking about a previous time when we won. But I believe even after that, yo, them niggas got us to surrender, man. We surrendered, and when humans surrendered, they wiped our fucking memories, they broke our DNA, and they reset the fucking shit and cast themselves as gods and told you about Genesis. In the beginning, there was no mama. It's bullshit, bro. You understand? And we seeing through it right now. You understand? One day we surrendered and they reset everything. They wiped our memory. They shut down our DNA. They dumbed humans down and left us in this false reality. And that's what I mean when I'm speaking about the illusion of reality. Reality itself is an illusion. You understand? Reality is itself is illusion. We're in a holographic computer simulated reality, which is an illusion. And they use that illusion. This illusion was supposed to be a simulation for us where we could come and experience all the shit that we know as the all. We want to experience this shit, yeah? And the beings that got cut off from the source, from the all, they're the ones now that have used this hologram and made it that you think is real. You think this shit is real. And anything else that's not in reality, to us, we've been programmed to think, oh, that's fucking fantasy. But what if fantasy was real and this reality is fake? That's what I'm trying to give you here, yeah? So I'm done. The spell affected us all, man. It's affected all of us. And it's done by fucking Enki and Enlil, yeah? But remember, all contracts written in English now, we're in the awakening, they don't mean shit. And the words that's on the paper don't even mean what they mean. When you study etymology and legalese and all of that, that means this spell has been running for 6,000 years as an amnesia. Humans have got a sleeping amnesia that's been running. What's going on, Mr. Crow? Amnesia been running for a while. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the way that they encode this reality, I've told you guys before, is by the real, R-E-E-L, Hollywood, mass media, movies, yeah? They get us to consciously watch these movies and series and Netflix and programs and invest in them so heavily that we encode this shit into this false reality. It's all an illusion, and it's up there using our own energy. They're harnessing our own energy harvesting us to create this shit. Remember, they can't create. They're cut off from source energy. We have the source in us. Humans. We have the power to defeat all fucking archons. They're scared of us. That's why they have to have this realm like this for so long. Because we could be the end all of everything for them. Do you understand? And on the good side, they know that humans keep this shit running. We keep this whole fucking shit running from who we are. And there's a lot of beings cut off from source that are jealous of us. And a lot of them are walking around on Earth in avatar suits looking human, and they're not human. They hate your guts. They want you gone. And they put themselves as the fucking human. They're not human. They're not from here. They're not terrestrial. They're not natives of Gaia, of Mother Earth. They don't have her best intention at heart. Yeah, and she knows the difference between her fucking children and these hybrid motherfuckers that are walking around on the surface that are soon gonna get fucked off. Yeah? So I wanted to give you this shit from a philosophical standpoint and add that to the discussion. Yeah? I could go on, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave it there. The next time I come on, I'm gonna call it the elixir of life. I'm gonna do a part 3 of this and call it the elixir of life, because I've only spoke about one side of philosophy on this live. If you haven't watched it from the start, it's worth going back to the start. I know it's early day and a lot of you have got stuff to do and stuff, but it is worth at some point going back to the start and going back over that philosophical aspect, because I'm going to come back in a part 3 and here where I talk about the Philosopher's Stone and all of that stuff. The next time I'm going to speak about the elixir of life and link it right back to the higher mysteries in Egypt where it really came from. Yeah, guys, we're in the quickening. Time is not the same. The illusion of time is running out and it's coming to an end. All them calendars they tried to use to throw us off, the Julian calendars, the Gregorian calendars. I wasn't able to go into the firsts and seconds today, but know that time doesn't start from seconds. Time starts from moments, from moment to moment, and it starts with 100 firsts in every second. So they've already got us in this illusion of reality by keeping us in this secondary false fucking counterfeit time. Do you understand? I was speaking about it with my daughter yesterday. I don't think it's wise to go into it now. I think I've gave you guys enough. But don't see yourself in the world. That would be an illusion. See the world in yourself, just like Tahuti said. And then you will stop being a fractal. You will start coming out of this fractal and going into your oversoul more and more and having more control of the narrative that you're trying to create for yourself, which will be your saving grace in this chaos what's about to happen. Okay, shout out to all the people brave enough to take the truth, accept it. Shout out to all the people brave enough to make tough decisions, whether it's leaving your job to start your own business or locking off some toxic person in your family, whether it was a spouse or a friend. Or I salute you, because this shit is tough, man. And this, I've never seen the earth so hard for people like us, for our consciousness group. Yeah. Another time we'll go into the Tartarian thing and the Antarctica thing also. But we did drop a few of them jewels on the Living Library Live, also about 1850 and how they changed the historical timeline in that year and changed history entirely, changed maps and everything. We wanted to speak a bit about that and how that ties into this false reality, and how now in schools there's no critical thinking, it's just rote learning. But I do think I have mentioned that quite a few times, along with counterfeit humans in the form of cybernetics, organic robotoids, clones, mimics, and all of that shit. We've spoke about all of that before. So the last frontier is not space, man. You understand? Space is just a magnified view of your here, the space in here. Consciousness is the last frontier, not space. So let them have a space race and shit, and let us have a consciousness race to get back to the technology of consciousness, where we could rather just use our mind and just disappear people and shit, yeah. Because these corporations, the biggest one being the USA itself, working off this maritime shit, is a whole fucking scam. And reality itself is an illusion. So with that being said, that's the end of the transmission. Next time I'll come back, we'll do a part 3 and we'll talk about the elixir of light. Respect for tuning in. All the guys in the Soul Family Collective, we love you all and the transmission. Have a great day, guys. Namastu.